Samurai Champloo follows Mugen, Jin, and Fu on their journey to find the samurai who smells the sunflowers. That's it. That's literally the whole show. Samurai Champloo doesn't really have an overarching story. Instead, it's more like a loosely connected jumble of events that occur as these three main characters journey throughout Edo, Japan. So, with its loose narrative progression, why is Samurai Champloo widely considered to be a classic within the anime community? And how did it become one of my favorite anime of all time? Well, let's talk about it. Prior to Samurai Champloo, director Shinichiro Watanabe's first work was Cowboy Bebop, a space western that combined crime and bebop jazz elements. And although Cowboy Bebop may have helped to popularize this mesh of elements, it had already been pre-established through works like Lupin III. However, with Samurai Champloo, Watanabe decided to combine his love for old samurai movies with his love for hip-hop, creating a new blend unique to Samurai Champloo. And it just works. With beats by legends, including the man who literally created lo-fi hip-hop, Nujabes, Samurai Champloo has possibly the best anime soundtrack of all time. You can't help but smile as you watch Mugen slice and dice with a hip-hop beat in the background. It shouldn't work, but it does, and it creates a vibe unlike anything else. The reason I bring up music before anything else is because more than any other show, without its soundtrack, Samurai Champloo just isn't Samurai Champloo. The music establishes such a distinctive atmosphere, and when combined with a story as unique as Samurai Champloo's, it makes for an unforgettable experience. It's not just the soundtrack that's inspired by hip-hop, but almost every aspect of the show. And this can be most clearly seen with its main character, Mugen. Mugen is brash and in your face. He's a super cool samurai dude who doesn't follow the rules, and lives his life doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it. I think it's interesting to compare Mugen with Cowboy Bebop's Spike. Spike is a cunning, collected man whose smooth fighting style flows with the series' jazzy soundtrack. On the other hand, Mugen is wild and unpredictable, with a reckless and erratic fighting style reminiscent of the series' hip-hop influence. And to top it off, he even breakdances while he fights. Overall, Mugen is just a really likable dude who's a ton of fun to watch. Mugen's counterpart, however, is Jin, a traditionally trained samurai who utilizes a carefully honed fighting style. He's reserved and only speaks when needed, causing him to be the polar opposite of Mugen in every way. The character designs also do a great job at reflecting this, with Jin's traditional kimono and sharply drawn hair heavily contrasting Mugen's tattered clothes and free-flowing hair. At first I thought that I wouldn't like Jin that much because of his guarded nature, but man, I was wrong. Throughout the series you learn that there's a lot more to him than meets the eye, and he ends up becoming just as cool as Mugen in his own way. The final member of the main trio is Fu. Fu isn't a samurai and she can't fight, but she still manages to be an interesting character within the story. As the one who brought the group together, Fu acts as a middle ground between Mugen and Jin's conflicts. This can make Fu come off as kind of annoying sometimes, but I think that was intentional. She's not just a plot device to make Mugen and Jin look cool. Fu saves their lives just as much as they save hers. She can fend for herself, and that's respectable. I know I said earlier that Mugen was the show's main character, but really, they can all be the main character depending on the episode. Each one of them is strong enough to individually drive the story of an episode, and so each episode will usually focus on a different character's adventure. While these characters are interesting on their own, they're definitely at their best when they're together. The back and forth dialogue has an almost unrivaled fluidity, with the characters constantly teasing and exchanging snarky remarks between each other. And this is made possible by Samurai Champloo's amazing dub voice acting. Yes, I said dub. I don't usually watch shows in dub, but this is how Samurai Champloo needs to be experienced. Mugen being voiced by Steve Blum, the same man who voiced Spike in Cowboy Bebop's dub, just fits so well. A lot of people say that Cowboy Bebop has the best dub of all time, but nah, I think that title goes to Samurai Champloo. By the time Samurai Champloo came out, Steve Blum had perfected his craft, and the sound quality for dubs had gone way up.
Meditate under a waterfall. Screw that.
But Mugen's dub voice isn't the only notable one. Each member of the main cast has an amazing English voice performance backing them. Heck, even the characters we only see for one episode have top-notch performances. Seriously, watch the dub. It is Airplane Mugen. The Samurai Champloo's cast's biggest strength is how different Mugen, Jin, and Fu are from each other. Look at any shot of the three together, and you can see how differently they carry themselves. In this shot, Mugen is lying on the ground, Jin is sitting up straight, and Fu is either squatting in order to avoid getting dirty or taking a dump. We'll never know. This use of positioning indicates how different these characters are on a fundamental level, and it's important because it sets the baseline for everything these characters will do and say. To me, what makes a good cast is one that, when presented with a problem, will all find different solutions to it. And this seems to have been the driving force behind the creation of Samurai Champloo's cast. When presented with the problem of needing money, Mugen decides that instead of just finding a job like the other two, he's gonna train a beetle so he can bid on it. The best part is, it actually works, and he ends up getting rich because of it. This is how Samurai Champloo is able to kinda just do whatever it wants. Any situation can be turned into a fun one because the characters work so well together. And let me tell you, the situations they do get put into are wild. There's a spy episode, a zombie episode, and even an episode with a Dutch dude.
Oh, so now we eat the Edo-style sushi, yeah?
In one episode, Mugen plays baseball against the Americans in order to preserve the socioeconomic climate of Japan. While Samurai Champloo has a lot of dumb fun, it also contains just as many heartfelt moments. For example, this episode where Gene falls in love with a woman that he can't have. Seriously, this episode was so good, but so hard to watch. One of the core principles to this series is that each episode a member of the trio meets a new, memorable character with their own story. These stories can be as stupid as two brothers arguing over who's better at graffiti, to as serious as a blind woman whose child has been taken from her. What I find interesting is that after their episode, all these people we meet are never seen nor talked about again. They leave the story just as fast as they come into it. While this may be jarring for new viewers, it conveys the feeling that all these characters are on their own journey, one that just happened to intersect with our main trio. Also, after each episode, when that ending song comes on, ooh, I love it so much. It's such a beautifully melancholic and reflective piece that you just have to listen to every single time it comes on. With each episode telling its own story, Samurai Champloo feels like a 23-minute escape from reality, and this ending song captures that feeling perfectly. It's almost as if the singer is reminiscing over the episode's events, like they're an old, cherished memory. And this, combined with the stunningly aesthetic visuals, is what makes Shiki no Uta my favorite ending theme of all time. Speaking of visuals, Samurai Champloo's visuals are way too good. It's insane to think that this show came out in 2005. The animation is so smooth, and the fight choreography is some of the best anime has to offer. There's a certain flow to the fights that really emphasizes how skilled these samurai are. Like I said before, each character has a well thought out fighting style that reflects their personality. There's also no monologues or flashbacks to interrupt the fights, it's just straight, hard-hitting action. While the action is a spectacle, one thing that I think is super underappreciated about Samurai Champloo is how aesthetic its visuals are. Each shot is carefully considered and utilizes principles of cinematography you rarely see in anime. The color choice is also on point, with each setting having a distinct color palette to reflect the atmosphere. Just look at all the gray used in the zombie episode compared to the reds and oranges used as the sunsets in the first episode. The shot composition is so good that you could pretty much use any random shot from the show as a screensaver and no one would question it.
What's up with her? She's sentimental. She's what kind of mental? It's a female emotion found in Western European women. I suspect her emotions are getting the best of her right now.
Like I said earlier, Samurai Champloo doesn't really have an ongoing story that connects one episode to another, and so a lot of the time the show can feel purposeless. But I also think that's kind of the point. In the beginning of the show, we're given the task of finding the samurai that smells the sunflowers. The thing is, sunflowers don't have a smell, and so the whole time the three are on a journey with no real goal. But this doesn't matter to Mugen, Jin, and Fu because they realize that being together on a journey is much better than being alone and purposeless. There is no right way to find the samurai who smells the sunflowers. You have to make your own path. All that matters is that you keep moving forward. And so all the misadventures these characters have and all the people they meet along the way matter because they're a part of that path. Everyone that they meet finds their purpose in something different. When you first meet these graffiti-loving brothers, their passion seems like just an inconsequential gag. But as the episode progresses, you realize that it doesn't matter how dumb this may seem to onlookers. As long as it gives them purpose, who cares what they're passionate about? Is purpose really only found in chasing some arbitrary goal for the future? No. Purpose can be found in the here and now through the things and people we have around us. Is making overly sentimental anime videos really meaningless in the grand scale of things? Yes. But it gives me some semblance of purpose, so that's all that matters. These are concepts that Samurai Champloo is able to explore because of its seemingly purposeless story structure. With each new episode, you see the main trio's fondness for each other grow, and their barriers drop. In the beginning of the show when Fu is captured, Mugen and Jin ignore it. But in the end, after all these characters have been through together, they risk their lives to save her. Mugen, Jin, and Fu find their purpose in each other, and it changes them. Instead of dwelling on past decisions and future fulfillment, they learn to appreciate the present, because what they have now may not last forever. When you look at Samurai Champloo as a whole, it's basically just that cliche that the journey is more important than the destination. But hey, that's cool, because for some reason I needed that message, and I think it's one that a lot more people need too. I came to Samurai Champloo for the fights and music, but what I came away with was a story that inspired me, and an ending that I'll never forget. After all the conflict is resolved and they finally reach their destination, Samurai Champloo ends with Mugen, Jin, and Fu splitting up and going their separate ways. You expect the show to pull a fake-out heartwarming moment where the three all turn back so that they can journey together forever, but no, it doesn't. They just keep on walking. When I first watched this, I didn't know how to feel. There's a certain sense of bittersweet finality to this ending as you come to the realization that the journey is over. And for some reason that I didn't understand, this resonated with me. But after a lot of contemplation, I think I finally figured out why. If I watched Samurai Champloo's ending when I was a kid, I think I would have been confused. How do you make friends as good as these three and then decide to split up so easily? But I'm not a kid anymore, and because of that, I now know that that's just how life is sometimes. Over the years, I've seen a lot of people come and go. Childhood friends I grew up with that I might not ever see again. But Samurai Champloo helped me realize that that's okay. Throughout the course of the show, Fu mentions multiple times that she doesn't want their journey to end, and wishes that the three could travel together forever. But in the end, she realizes that even though people may part ways, the journey never really ends. You can't always control where life takes you, and so, eventually, you just have to learn to enjoy the ride. Samurai Champloo teaches that instead of being sad that the good times ended, you should be glad that they happened. Although Mugen, Jin, and Fu go their separate ways, they'll always be connected by the memories of that one time when they took down a cult, or that other time when they blew up the shogunate's headquarters. And that's why when we see them walking away at the end, they're smiling. Because in life, people will come and go. And sometimes the only thing we can do is keep on walking forward with a smile on our face.